Have any of you ever worked in a group towards some kind of project or another? Within that group, have you ever had someone who just didn't do any work at all? My sister constantly complains about all the group projects she has to do at her school, and how all these people aren't helping her do their portion of the work. Me, being a control freak, I love those types of people. It just means that I get to do more and have to deal with less people influencing what I want to do in my project. Take last semester, for example. We had a presentation that we had to do that was worth essentially our entire mark. And 2 days before this presentation, I walk into the room, and 2 of the 5 group members have basically done nothing at all. Thankfully, I hadn't anticipated this. Half expecting it, really. And I threw down 2 scripts, and I said, learn these 2 things, do not deviate from them, and we're going to be just fine. We ended up getting an A in the class. Everyone was happy, everyone was joyful, and I thought I did a bang-on job. The problem is, though, when I look back now, I realize that I actually failed those 2, because I failed to hold them accountable. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. Martin Luther King Jr. was a fantastic human being, lived a very extraordinary life, did many wonderful things. And his civil rights movement was rooted in accountability. All that he wanted to do was hold the American government and the American people accountable to what they put on paper, which was that all men were created equal. And accountability is something that, for myself, I've never had too much of a problem with. At least it was manageable for most aspects of my life. But holding other people accountable to the commitments they made to me and to those around me was always extremely difficult, extremely uncomfortable to do. When I was either a captain of my sports team or in a group, when it was my job to hold those accountable, I would never do it. I was what you would call in the sporting world a silent leader, or a leader by example. Or when things got tough, I just did what I had to do. I didn't care what anybody else was doing, I was going to get the job done, no matter if it was including my counterparts or not. And that's what I thought what leadership was. But I've realized now that hoping that everyone else just comes with me is not necessarily the most effective way to lead other people, or at least get the job done. When I think, why is it so uncomfortable for me to talk to people about holding them accountable to the commitments they made to me, I think back to my time at Michigan playing sports there, where oftentimes we would show up to practice with more than 80% of the team not ready to practice. Nobody wanted to be there besides 2 or 3 people, really. And that was in complete contravention of the commitments we made at the beginning of the season to each other, saying that every day we were going to do everything in our power to make our team as good as possible. And showing up and not doing our job on a daily basis, this happened every single day, and no one said a word. And it was primarily because of 3 things. The first, no one wanted to be the bad guy. No one wanted to be the guy that would ruin everyone's fun. As we would call him on one of our team, a hardo, someone who takes things way too seriously, because everyone just wanted to go in there and coast. The second thing is that no one wanted to have the target on their back, because as soon as you hold someone accountable, the expectation that's placed on you then gets raised, and you have to hold yourself to what you just told the other person to do, save you from being a hypocrite. And the third thing is that no one really cared enough. There just wasn't that care. And when I'm talking about accountability up here, I'm talking not about revolutions or anything, but just the little things. Something like getting your part of the assignment complete. Something like cleaning up at a lunch table after you leave it at the food court. Throwing your can in the recycling bin, or something a bit more important like bullying. Things that we know that are outside the societal norms or the societal contract that we have with each other that slip through the cracks so easily. Where you might see it and you might throw it out for that person, but that isn't solving the actual problem or confronting that person and saying, hey, you need to do better. And oftentimes, it's just a slip of the mind, and we just need a little kick in the butt to get back into what we know is correct. And we need each other to do that. And to really hold someone accountable, you don't need to be a master. You don't need to be some kind of saint. You only need the courage to say something, the awareness and the grace to know what is right and what is wrong. And all you need is, the most important thing is care. Not only care about the issue when it comes to throwing the can in the recycling, the earth in general, but caring about the person themselves. That you as my brother, or you as my sister in this family of humanity that we have, that I expect better from you, you can do better, and I'm going to hold you to that standard of being better. Because not only is that raising our level of society together and all, but as I said before, sometimes you just need a little kick in the butt to put you back on the right track of what you know, and what you in your heart, and what you just know to be true. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, when confronted with a difficult decision or an uncomfortable decision, cowardice asks, is it safe? Expediency asks, is it politic? And vanity asks, is it popular? But conscience asks, is it right? And accountability flows from this stream of consciousness, in that it is right and just to hold each and every one of us accountable to the commitments that we make every single day we leave the house. And something like that is not always going to be popular, holding each other accountable. But I challenge you all to go forth and really make an effort to hold each other accountable, yourself and everyone around you, to the things that we do every single day. Whether it is throwing that can in the recycling, or cleaning up after yourself at Tim Hortons. Because it's those little things that really do add up into something revolutionary. And lastly, if you think that if that's not your job, or that's outside of you, you're wrong. Because if you don't do it, nobody else will. Because at the end of the day, every single one of us is accountable to holding every single one of us accountable.